What's up, everybody? It's Ant Lambers from the Get It Up Out of the Mud podcast. And yo, today we got a good show. Some things I want to talk about as far as the Get Up Out of the Mud mindset in itself, which is really what this whole brand is about, and how I got to where I got coming out of the mud, the patience that it took, the drive, the focus, all of that stuff that helped me get to the point where I'm at today, where I can give back to the community, give back to all the hustlers out there that are aspiring to follow their dreams and their goals every day. So thank you for joining in. I got a whole bunch of stuff I want to talk about. And the number one thing I want to get at today is going to be accountability. What's up, everybody? It's Ant Lambers coming to you with the Get Up Out of the Mud podcast, episode number 2. Got a bunch of things that I want to talk about over the months as far as the whole mindset of get it out of the mud. So I was talking with a dude this week and a friend of mine. We just talking about our futures and where we're trying to go with things. And he asked me a little bit about, what I was trying to get up out of the brand, get it up out of the mud. And I want you to think about it in terms of mindset, right? The get up out of the mud is a whole mindset. It's what I use mentally to get from point A, which was being incarcerated in the prison system, to point B, to being where I'm at as a successful entrepreneur. Now, I always get that question of, what was the point where you made the turn? What was it that sparked you to make that turn? And talking to people, I realized that the number one thing that helped me turn the corner to get on the road where I needed to go was accountability. So today we're really going to speak about accountability and what happens when you don't have any and when you do have some, and how you need to build that accountability in yourself to free yourself to go after your dreams. So get out of the mud, the mindset, right? All starts back in the 90s for me, in the streets, incarcerated, the things that I went through, the depression. All of that stuff played into a mentality of mine. The thing that I think hurt me the most in the beginning of my years was that I didn't have any accountability for myself. There was excuses for everything. So when I went to jail, I had excuses for my co-defendants. I had excuses for the way I felt my parents raised me. I had an excuse of, the school system. All of these things I kept, I do these crimes, I do these instances, all these things would happen, and I'd always be like, well, it's because this happened and this happened. So it's about 1998. I'm a couple years into my prison sentence. I've been outside hooping all day on the yard, wearing myself down. I come back to my room and I'm sitting on my bunk. I'm getting ready to take my shoes off. And for whatever reason, at that moment, I had this thought come across me of, Tony, just be accountable, man. Just own up to what you did, forgive yourself, and then start to move on. I don't really know what brought this upon myself, but it was just a feeling that I had. And I did, I kind of went through everything that I've been through. I'm sitting in cell 111, A unit, NTU Gladiator School. Life is tough and it's hard. But once I told myself, hey, man, you did this. You put yourself in the predicament with these people. You put yourself in that robbery. You put yourself with them guns. At that point, I really felt free. I remember laying back on my bunk and saying, okay. At this point, I still had about 4 years to do, which is significant that happened at that time, because if I would have waited longer to take accountability and got put back into the streets, I probably still would have been making excuses, and it probably would have went right back down, the roads and the trails that I had been on in the first place. So when people say where was a turn, that was the actual turn. Now what happens after that is crucial, because once you take accountability and you free yourself of the guilt, you almost have a clean slate. And with that clean slate, you have to be able to do something else, and it has to be positive. Now, the prison system at the time was at all times, not just at that time, at all times, the prison system is built on breaking you down, taking away your confidence, taking away your hope, shattering any dreams or any chance of that stuff happening. So when the accountability part was done, I was able to look at myself and say, okay, what can I do for myself to give myself a good life? Well, now I'm able to form a vision. And, being able to envision what your life is going to be like is huge. I was a big daydreamer in high school. Teachers would be talking and my brain would just be somewhere else. I'd be totally out thinking about something else, and I'd get in trouble for it, and I would fail classes for it. But when I got older, I realized that those daydreaming, that was me dreaming of what my life wanted to be. That's the law of attraction. I was actually dreaming about the things that I wanted. Before accountability, I couldn't do that because all my anger and all my hate was just, and guilt was all just channeling towards one thing. It didn't allow me to have that dream. So once I cleaned that slate, I was able to look back and say, okay, what do I want in my life every day? And here's a little story that I've told before when I'm doing motivational talks about something that sparked me in a positive direction and made me form what my dream was. And it's gonna sound corny to a whole bunch of people, but I don't care. It's the real shit. So we had these small TVs in prison, black and white. They're about 11-inch TVs, 12-inch TVs. And you only get a couple channels. And we got Fox in and we had ESPN that came in. And every day at 12 o'clock, this show would come on, and it was called Frasier. And I know some of you know this show, it's corny. But what happened with me watching it, I watch that show every day religiously at noon. So I go to Chow Hall, I come back, I would watch this show. I've seen every single episode. But what I was getting out of this show wasn't, the comic sense of the deal. I wasn't even really listening to the banter that was going back and forth. What I was looking at was Frasier's lifestyle. I knew that was a lifestyle I wanted. I wanted to be able to wear suits and drive a Lexus with air conditioning. I wanted a nice condo overlooking the city. I started to formulate what I wanted. So over the years of watching Frasier, that got embedded into my brain. And then you fast forward a little bit and I'll show you of how the law of attraction works is I had thought about that whole lifestyle that Frasier had for 5 years. I get released from prison. I find myself in the real estate game and I'm building myself up and it's taking a long time. It took patience, and that's going to be another episode is patience. But one day I was driving down the street and I just happened to look in the mirror of the car and I seen a tie on. I had a Rolex watch on. I was driving an Infiniti car and I realized that, I just actually had every single thing that I had been dreaming about in that Frasier show. I didn't know how I got there, but at the end of the day, it made me think, man, that's crazy. I thought about it so much that it actually happened. Now I'm in a different phase of my life now. Money and material things that's not what my dream is, but that was my base. I wanted a certain look. I wanted something totally opposite than what I got in the penitentiary, right? I didn't want that look anymore. So going back to how this comes back to accountability is, you can't even get to the clean slate to build your dream unless you're accountable for your actions on all terms. You can be accountable for the positive stuff. You can be accountable for the bad stuff. People always say sometimes, they say it to kids, and I hear it all the time, it's just humble yourself. Well, you don't just have to humble yourself in terms of being proud of yourself or having self-esteem or bragging about yourself. The whole get it up out of the mud mindset is about building yourself up and having confidence in yourself. And if other people don't like it, they can fade to black. But you have to be strong enough to say, hey, I can not only just humble myself from greatness, you can humble yourself from negativity, right? Why does it always got to be against greatness that you got to back yourself down? You're too good for greatness, but you can't be too good for negativity. So that's something that you have to think about when you're building your vision and you're building your life. It's not going to be for everybody. It's just got to be for you. So when I'm dealing with the youth now, the number one thing I see out of them is lack of accountability. The next thing that I don't see in them is goals, dreams, and visions. And we can't even get to that till we chop into that accountability and put that in play. We can all do that right now. You can do it today. All I simply said was, I was responsible for the things that I've done, and now I have to forgive myself and move on. How many of you are not forgiving yourself for things that have happened in your life? So when we're talking, get it out of the mud, I'm telling you the story from my mud, but we all got the mud. In the mud that you come from, have you forgiven yourself? Have you gotten over the guilt? Have you cleaned the slate so you can rebuild your vision and rebuild your dream? A lot of you haven't. It took me years to really understand how all that came into play. So around the time that I caught a case with 5 other dudes, and I had a whole bunch of hate for those dudes because I felt like they all went home and I didn't get to go home. I ended up doing a long stretch. I did a 5 to 15. Nobody else in the crime did any time. So what I did over those years is built up a whole bunch of anger and a whole bunch of resentment towards those people. And what it was doing is it was stopping me from growing. I couldn't grow at all. I didn't know that. And I'll tell you another quick story. When I was locked up, I had these feelings towards these people, and I started to wish hate on them. Like every day I would just say, I hope something bad happens. I hope something bad happens. Well, one of the defendants that was in my case was a family member of mine. And I got a call one day into the prison, and you don't ever really get calls, right? And I get one, so I know something happened to somebody in my family. And I get on the phone, and it's my uncle. And he's telling me that his cancer had come back. He's only got a few days to live. He wanted to tell me that he loved me, tell me that, you know, he hopes to see me in heaven and I get my life together. And I get off the phone, the officer's walking me back to my cell, and I'm thinking to myself, damn, I done wish hate on this dude so much that God's actually giving it back to me in a way that's hurting me. So I didn't want any, so the reason why I say this is because that person, my uncle, his son was involved in this case with me. So, you know, I never said I wanted something so bad to happen. I just wanted people to have accountability like I had to have accountability. But that was a lack of accountability. I was wishing hate and harm on everyone else, and that was a life lesson for me because I felt like in some ways I brought that situation onto my family because I was wishing something to happen, and God kind of punished me for wishing something so hateful that it came back to me and it hurt me. So from that point in my life, I said, you know what? I can't focus on other people and what they're going through and what they're doing. This is my deal. And that's accountability, right? I never wanted to be in that position again to feel, and it wasn't my fault, right? But it was a lesson for me, you know, to understand that if I keep channeling hate and anger, which we're seeing in society right now a lot. When you get on Facebook, right, what are you seeing? When you get on Instagram, what are you seeing? A whole bunch of people not taking accountability, a whole bunch of people making excuses, a whole bunch of people picking sides, right, so that they feel like they're aligned and they're secure somewhere. But in reality, none of them are taking accountability for their own life. Like, I don't know a time in my life where I got up in the morning and the president of the United States dictated how my life or how my hustle was gonna go, right? I'm accountable for myself, no matter who's in office, no matter what's going on. Same thing with the race stuff and the whites and the blacks going at it. At the end of the day, take accountability for yourself. You worried about what everybody else is doing and you don't have a lane. And I'm telling you, your life will get better if you can create that lane and that vision. So, within the mindset of get it up out of the mud, what can you do from the mud right now? First thing is take accountability. Probably one of the easiest things you're gonna do if you're just real with yourself. The second thing you need to start doing is envisioning what you wanna be on your level, your standards, not anybody else's. I don't care what the dream is. Just put it out there. You have to really visualize it though. You have to get down to the detail. How do you want to look? How do you want to dress? How do you want to talk? Who do you want to talk with? What is your conversations going to be about? You know, a guy told me a long time ago that you should be setting your life up based off what you want people to be saying at your funeral. Like right now, you see somebody in the streets, they get killed or something, everybody says how great the kid is. But what about getting right down to the fact of if you're dead, what is everybody saying about you? Carrying on, that's your legacy, right? Have that play into it, right? To build yourself up so that you can get the things that you want. So chat, I'm about to wrap this up real quick. I got a couple things I want to say real quick before I go. The Get Up Out of the Mud merchandise, the website, getoutofthemud.com. Right now until November 1st, I'm going to be taking all profits that come from the Get It Out of the Mud merchandise and putting it towards my Thanksgiving giveaway. Every single year for the last 8 years, I've given out food baskets to the hungry in Wyoming and Muskegon. We've given out over 1,000 baskets. I want to do 1,000 baskets this year, all right? So what I need to do is I need you to go to the website, getoutofthemud.com, get you some merchandise. I got everything, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats. I got cell phone cases, school bags, everything that you can think of, coffee mugs, whatever you want, you got it. And know that 100% of those profits are going towards those baskets this year, all right? So that's what I want you to focus on. So until the next week, mindset, accountability, vision. Let's get on it. Let's do it. If you want to have any comments, any dialogue with me, just hit me in the comments section and I'll get back to you and we can kick it. GetItOutofthemud.com. I appreciate you. Peace.